We definitely want to thank you guys. I think this takes a lot of effort to do everything that you guys are doing to get everything set up, and it's money out of your pocket at times as well too. And the fact that you guys are kind of focusing on the local music scene, I think, is just fantastic. So, we definitely appreciate everything that you guys are doing and the work that you're putting into this project with us and all the other bands as well too, man. I think that's awesome. Some do. We still got some old school people, which we absolutely fucking appreciate. Anybody who's known us from the 90s and stuff that still come out, and they've always got cool stories about, hanging out with us from 20 years ago. So we still get people who come out and see us a lot. I still meet people down in the streets who remember the band, are still very much active listeners and all that. And then, along the way is with some of the reunion shows we've done over the last 10 years or so, we've actually made some new fans and stuff. A lot of them get disappointed when they find out, we're not touring or playing anymore. But, the best thing you can tell them is, fuck it, you missed the boat, dude. But it was kind of a happenstance meeting with Mark, and came out and kind of joined those guys. And those guys had been playing together for a while with each other. So I was kind of the newcomer to a lot of it. But, things went well. And the writing was, a lot of what we all wanted and kind of what we wanted to do. And we felt like, as far as Deep Ellum at the time, that this was going to be a good niche for us. There wasn't much as far as that genre a lot. And so I think even today, a lot of people still kind of refer to Slow Roosevelt as kind of like the grandfathers of the Dallas metal scene, and or alternative hard rock, whatever the fuck it was back then. But we hung out and we played together and we did some shows together, and things started to kind of roll a little bit. I don't know if I could go back and do that again now that I'm, solidly into my 50s. But man, I love that time. That was such a wonderful and beautiful time back then.
Yeah, and you're not alone. I mean, since we started this DFW Legacy Series and we put up the Facebook group, which if you're not in it, you can search Facebook for DFW Legacy Series. You'll find the group. We've got, I think, over 800 members in this thing. And the response has just been overwhelming. And it's really all keyed on that period between, like we mentioned, 95 and the early 2000s. Like the amount of nostalgia and passion that people, ourselves included, have for that period, because we were all, roughly around the same age and experiencing it all in kind of the best part of our lives, that mid-20s, early 30s type of period, to where you've got enough energy to be out till 2 or 3 in the morning, whether you're playing or just watching a show, and then you can do it again the next day and you're not dying, So it was just a really critical period, and you guys hit on it right at the right time. So.
Well, I guess the SloRo, I started with the first record, Saint Nick, and been with them since the end. I guess I was the dude, as Scott told me. You're our dude. So the dude that's behind the knobs, and I did many of a live show running sound for them as well. Since I knew all the songs, it was easy enough for me to go to the show and recreate, what we did in the studio, for the most part with the gear that was available. So,
there was 5 years in between Throw Away Your Stereo and Weightless. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I know touring took the bulk of that. I know you guys transitioned from One Ton over to Brando and that scene. But why 5 years?
That's why they call it Slow Roosevelt.
Come on now.
It would have been just Roosevelt, but you're like, no.
No,
So how much of that time was spent with Alex, I guess is the question, because it was probably a short period by the time you got to the studio.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot, and I think you're exactly right, man. It was a lot of touring. The touring schedule was keeping us busy. It was tough to get back to the rehearsal studio and just kind of sit down and write and do stuff. You know, you think you're gonna do all that stuff on the road, and that never works out that way. You know, you're just too busy. You're too busy doing everything, and so, you know, and I think too. I think with a lot with Weightless, we really kind of wanted to take our time. We wanted to think about what we wanted to do with the music, and we wanted to make sure that everything that we were putting out on that album was something that we all felt was the right direction to go, and felt like it was the right batch of songs to really put out. You know, we were really kind of pushing for that album to kind of be, you know, the trademark of this band and everything, and hopefully show that. So yeah, I mean, it took us a while to do it, but in the end, I think we're pretty proud of the result with it.
Yeah, we pre-tested the songs too. It's like our motto was we give a song 3 times live to see what the audience reaction is, and if it goes over well live 3 times at least, then we'll consider recording it. And we had a wide market to use. We had the Deep Ellum market, and you know, through Curtain Club and Trees, and for Weightless, at least those 2 clubs.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, Randy Brown and the entire Fort Worth scene, we had that out there. You know, Randy's been with us a long time too. And so between 3 shows between those 2 areas, that was the green light for most of the songs that you hear recorded.
And I think a lot of times we probably brutalize the out of town markets more with our new stuff, just to make sure that it was going to fly before we brought it home, and embarrassed ourselves there. So
yeah.
And when we started recording, when the band I was in at the time, South FM, started recording, I want to say it was probably right after you guys recorded Weightless. So we were coming in just after that, or maybe at the same time even. I remember hearing the rough cuts of what you guys were doing, and we were coming in recording our first little record, having never.
Son of a bitch! You weren't supposed to play those for anybody.
Yeah, exactly. But you talk about intimidation, because we were coming in, had never done a record before. We're just trying to lay it down, and then we hear Weightless coming out of the board, and we're like, "Oh my God, we're so far away." But hey, it's something to strive for. But I remember lots of those sessions with you, Alex, talking about what you had done the night before with the SloRo guys.
Yeah, and you know, something kind of interesting is that the day we started on Weightless, the studio was in the process of being built, and the guys came in and helped paint and lay down some floor tiles and things like that, because I got this giant new board out there, or vintage board, barely had it wired up, and we had to start tracking on a certain day. So I mean, we were like building things and trying to record all, you know, at the same time, and also figure out this studio space that was brand new, not used to the room sounds, the acoustics, you know, working out bugs with the wiring and the speaker systems and things like that. So throw that on top of trying to do this record that, you know, had a lot of eyes on it. It was definitely stressful for me.
But when I go back and listen to it, you know, I have to remind myself that, you know, when those songs were written, it was over 20 years ago. It may have finally hit the shelves. And boys and girls, there's this thing called a CD, and it looked like this, and it was silver, and you put it in a little player. They don't have that now, but back then they did. And before those even hit the shelves, you know, those songs were already, what, year and a half, 2 years old. And so when I hear it now, you know, and comparing to how the music scene is today in the past 10 years, it really, I think they have stood the test of time. And I think that, it's really just a matter of style nowadays, the way the music industry has changed to use, auto tuners and what have you. Pete didn't use an auto tuner, damn it.
And he probably should have, but other than that, yeah.
We left every clank, every mistake, everything in those tracks, and that made it just raw and good. And so when you hear it again, it's just, if you like rock, you still like the music. About it. My relationship with Tony was always with, it's with the band, and we were just, we would hang out and what have you and things like that. And he was always the person that would make sure that Scott and I stayed on schedule. He was always the one that made sure that, if one of the band members was have a brief fit or moment, he would calm it down and get it reeled in. He was the one that was always making sure that, we had our type of Gatorade that we wanted on the stage. He was the one that was always, making sure we had the right, the set list, because we would do that to others. We would make the wrong set list for one of the band members and see what would happen. That was fun. And, he was always just there for you as a band member, and he really was an extension of the band as a member.
Sure. Man. I mean, if there was ever a backbone to what we did, if there was ever a spine, that was Tony. Tony made things run on time. Tony made sure that we made it to the next gig on time. Tony made sure that we made it there for promo and radio. He was the guy that really kind of kept us on track, and gave us a lot of that direction and structure, which, for us in the band, that really freed us up to sit back and really just have a good time with a lot of what we were doing. And without Tony, it would have been a lot more work, in that sense. And so Tony's presence in the band gave me an opportunity to enjoy the band more than I would ever have been able to without his help and without a lot of his assistance. As a friend of mine that, knowing him for, 25 years or so, what can I say? He was one of my best friends. Miss him a lot. And he was everybody's best friend. He really was. Tony was the guy that really kind of made you feel like you were, his family member, in that sense. Yeah, absolutely. And for somebody like him, his character was reflected in how well he made other people feel about themselves. And he made us feel great about ourselves. And that says a lot about him. Foundation 45 is a DFW organization that works with artists and musicians with struggling with depression, anxiety, substance abuse. We provide free mental health care for people who not are only musicians, but people who love music as well too. Our tattooed brethren, our artists, our painters, our poets, all of this. Foundation 45 is there for you guys. We're a big supporter of the LGBTQ community as well too. We're out there. We provide free support groups, mental health support groups, several nights a week as well. I'm happy that the band agreed to allow us to donate a lot of our proceeds back to Foundation 45. That's kind of our way of kind of giving back to the community that really kind of gave us so much with all of this. And so with a lot of the fans, this is our way of kind of paying you guys back for everything that you gave us.